Good evening, Bahamas. You're tuned into NB12, broadcasting from Cable 12 Studios on Robinson Road. Coming up tonight in news, the government taking a key step in reducing the cost of electricity in the near term. Former Prime Minister Hubert Ingram says it will be hard to replace the late Charles Maynard. Plus, the Golden Knights received $100,000 in cash from the government today, and more is on the way. We've got those stories and so much more coming up. I'm Paige McCartney, and NB12 starts right now. Welcome once again to NB12. The privatization of the Bahamas Electricity Corporation may be years away from reality. However, government is just days away from negotiating an agreement that could drastically reduce the cost of energy in the Bahamas. Christina McNeil has more in this report.
Quick savings for the Bahamian people. That's what BEC Chairman Leslie Miller says the corporation is aiming to do in the short term by renegotiating fuel agreements and upgrading equipment. Long-term changes to BEC, however, including privatization, may still be years away. The main contributor to the high cost of electricity is the cost of oil on the international market. With that in mind, Miller says the government is taking a step toward negotiating a new fuel agreement with Venezuela's state-owned petroleum company, PDVSA. This is not the first time Miller has attempted to negotiate an oil deal with Venezuela. During his tenure as minister responsible for BEC in the first Christie-led administration, Miller pushed for an agreement with PetroCaribe, a Venezuela-sponsored oil alliance that allowed countries preferential treatment in purchasing oil. That deal was rejected. However, Miller says he believes these upcoming negotiations have the potential to be very beneficial to Bahamian consumers.
We're also looking to deal with PDVSA, the national oil company of Venezuela. We've had discussions with the persons who now running the Baku facility in Grand Bahama with the procurement of fuel for BEC. And we're looking now at branching out into Venezuela to sit with PDVSA to see whether we can get a long-term contractual agreement with BEC. If we can get a contractual agreement, say 3 to 5 year contractual agreement with an oil-producing company such as Venezuela, through PDVSA, who I happen to be knowledgeable with from dealing with PetroCaribe, we feel that we'll put BEC on the right footing and try to save the Bahamian people anywhere from perhaps as much as 10–15% on their bill.
In the House of Assembly Wednesday, Minister of Environment and Housing Kendra Dorset alluded that government had received proposals that may lead to the privatization of the state-run power company. Miller says if government decides privatization is the best route for BEC, it would likely require that Bahamians retain the majority stake in the company. Meanwhile, he says the government is focused on doing what it can to lower costs in the immediate future.
As far as privatization, the government had indicated earlier that BEC may be inclined to sell shares to Bahamians, but the Prime Minister indicated no more than 40% would be sold to any foreign entity, that BEC would at all times be 60% owned and controlled by Bahamians. And I think all of your national assets should be in the hands of the Bahamian people. And you saw what happened with BTC. And likewise, BEC, but we haven't reached that stage yet at all. That's probably a few years down the road. The first task was to try to bring down the cost of fuel. That is easier said than done, because the time frame to put in new engines, many of the engines at Clifton, some of them is now over 30 years old. Their time of efficient running has expired. And we're trying to refurbish most of the engines at Clifton and then to put in new engines. Once that is done, with the culmination of that in connection with getting cheaper fuel, you will see a dramatic, really the goal of the corporation, the goal of the board of directors and management.
Reducing the cost of fuel continues to be a national challenge. That's why Miller says the corporation is exploring options that may pass increased savings on to consumers. Dorset said the government is considering proposals for solar energy plants, waste-to-energy plants, ocean thermal energy plants, and wind. Today, Miller explained what waste-to-energy could mean for BEC.
There are many proposals now on the table with regard to providing us what they call green energy. That is converting trash and the garbage at the Nassau dump on Howard Road into electricity. From that plant, whoever gets the contract to do so can probably supply BEC between 25 and 30 megawatts of power. The price, of course, that's a very expensive operation. From the proposals we have seen, it goes anywhere from $100 to $200 million.
However, he added that waste to energy is only expected to produce 25 to 30 megawatts of energy. BEC has a total capacity of 375 megawatts. Miller reiterated the government's commitment to lowering energy costs in the best interests of the Bahamian public. Reporting for NB12, I'm Christina McNeil.
Before his sudden death, Free National Movement Chairman Charles Maynard was busy ensuring that the party holds on to the North Abaco seat, currently held by Hubert Ingram. The former Prime Minister says the FNM will have a hard time finding someone as vibrant as Maynard to serve as chairman and coordinator for its by-election campaign. He also expressed shock at the loss of the man he considered a friend. Vonnie Toot reports.
Many people whose lives were touched by Charles Maynard have visited his parents' home over the past 3 days to offer their condolences. One of them was former Prime Minister Hubert Ingram, who selected Maynard to serve in his cabinet between 2007 and 2012. He says Maynard's death is a huge blow to the Free National Movement.
There are not many Charlies around. The party made a very good choice when it selected Charlie as the chairman. It was a sacrifice for him. Hopefully the party will find somebody similar to Charlie, but Charlie is very difficult to replace. He knows lots of people. He is politically very well aware. He's got good political instincts. One of the few persons I know who could stand up for an hour without a note in sight, make sense, take the party's line, carry it logically.
The FNM has two deputy chairmen, Dr. Dwayne Sands, who lost to Ryan Pinder in the Elizabeth constituency, and Darren Cash, the party's unsuccessful Carmichael candidate. FNM officials say one of those men will serve as acting chairman until Maynard's replacement is elected. The opposition will also have to find a new coordinator for its North Abaco by-election campaign, which was suspended after Maynard's death. However, the party's focus is now on giving the former cabinet minister a proper send-off. Mr. Ingram says he will never forget the moment he learned his colleague and friend had passed away.
Shock and bewilderment. Couldn't believe it. Paralyzed. I got the news about 4 o'clock that morning. Totally surprised. Had no indication that Charlie was ill or had any ailment, other than he didn't eat seafood. A very active person. When I would be walking in the morning down Cable Beach, Charlie would run and pass me and come back and pass me. Very active.
Mr. Ingram says Maynard brought that same level of energy and enthusiasm to the table during the 5 years he served as a government minister. Following the 2007 general election, Maynard was appointed Minister of State for Culture. However, the former Prime Minister says he was so impressed with his performance that he made him Minister of Youth, Sports and Culture at the earliest opportunity. Mr. Ingram described the former Golden Isles MP as one of the brightest stars in his cabinet.
I think it's a long legacy, whether it's a self-starter program, whether it's the programs in culture or sports, name it. He was very focused. He did a wonderful job. A wonderful job. It's a great loss for us in the Bahamas. Charlie was a very devoted, committed soul, bright, very focused. In fact, Charlie and I got very close. One of the things about Charlie was his stubbornness. If he had a point of view, you couldn't change his mind, and he would wear you down. I mean, day after day. Yes, Chief, we got to do this. We got to do that. I liked him very much, and I'm very sad that Charlie is no longer with us.
Though Maynard's time in frontline politics was brief, Ingram says his family has a lot to be proud of. Reporting for NB12, I'm Vonnie Toot.
Well, the Golden Knights have so far received numerous awards and rewards from various sponsors and well-wishers for their winning performance at the 2012 Olympic Games. But today they were given the first of the rewards they will receive from the government. Minister of Youth, Sports and Culture Dr. Janny Johnson presented the Knights with more than $100,000 in rewards today. He said the government also intends to provide the young men with Crown land.
I now wish to get ready to present you with your reward on behalf of the people of the Bahamas, and to let you know that tomorrow morning at 9:30 you should assemble at the Ministry of Youth, Sports and Culture, where you'll have a private briefing from the government as to some other things that you will also receive. I make note, it is a private briefing. You may want to keep some of these things that you receive to yourself.
The gifts were given during a ceremony at Government House for the athletes and their family members. Team leader for the winning relay team, Chris Brown, again thanked the people of the Bahamas. He encouraged other athletes to prepare for the Olympic Games in Brazil in 2016 and said he's not ending his career.
Thanks for supporting us and thanks for sticking in there with us. My career, like the minister said, it's been a long journey for me. I'm not retiring. Just for the record, I'm not retiring anytime soon. But we just like to, yes, we just like to say thank you, and we hope that in 2012 Rio we could have a 4x1 team or 4x4, 2016, sorry, or females 4x4, and even our team, our whole entire team, be looking forward to bringing in pole vaulters, more high jumpers inside there. So we just want to tell everyone thank you, and finish. Thank you for allowing us to continue to do our job.
The Minister of Sports also made special mention of the other members of the Team Bahamas who made great strides at the Olympic Games this year.
We also wish to recognize finalists for the first time ever, Ariana Vanderpool Wallace in the 50 and 100 meters. And particular recognition goes out to finalist Levan San.
And tonight, the Golden Knights are being treated to dinner by former Prime Minister Hubert Ingram and opposition leader Hubert at Balmoral Island and will receive a reward from BTC tomorrow. And in less than 2 years, some of the world's top athletes will head to the Bahamas to compete in the International Amateur Athletic Federation's first ever World Relay Championships. The Minister of Youth, Sports and Culture recently revealed how the Bahamas won the bid and what it means for the country. Jasmine Bonamy reports.
During the World Relays, the Golden Knights will have to defend their Olympic victory at the new Thomas A. Robinson National Stadium in 2014. The men, along with other national athletes, will compete with runners from 50 other countries. According to Dr. Johnson, the Bahamas won the bid after he and his team met with IAAF officials during the London Olympic Games earlier this month. The championships will be held in both May 2014 and 2015. Dr. Johnson says the Bahamas bid against some heavy hitters. However, their chief selling point was the country's brand.
We're so very proud of having won the championship at the Olympics for the men's 4x400 meter relays, and it leads us perfectly into the next big thing that we have won for the country, which is the first ever world double IAAF championships in relays. So this will be the first time ever in the world that you're going to have 40, 50 different countries come to challenge for relay championships. It is unprecedented that we would win this bid against countries like Jamaica and Barbados and Trinidad and Brazil and Curacao and Mexico, who of course also won, and also even Dubai. We went into a setting where Dubai was bidding. And so it is a great testament to what the world thinks of Bahamian achievements and of our capacity to actually host a major event of this kind.
IAAF officials have said they selected the Bahamas based on the past successes of the Golden Girls in the women's relays, as well as the recent success of the Golden Knights. Questions have been raised about the national stadium, considering no major event has been held there since its official opening in February. The Youth, Sports and Culture Minister said officials expect to iron out kinks when the Bahamas host the Carifta Games next Easter.
All the countries in the Caribbean, which are now a dominant feature on the world scene in athletics and other sports, coming to the Bahamas to throw down the gauntlet and see how we challenge for that. And once really we're done with the Carifta Championships, I think we would have had ironed out all of the minor details of our facility.
The World Relay schedule includes the 4x100 and 4x400 races, as well as the 4x800 and 4x1500 relays. The athletes will be competing for $1.4 million in prize money. Reporting for NB12, I'm Jasmine Bonamy.